my God, he just did it. Well, Skip, it's been another 5 seconds, so let's go to a commercial about Peyton Manning with car insurance. Well, we just had a kickoff, so let's have another commercial. I'm telling you right here, this commercial after the other commercial is the greatest commercial that we've ever seen. There's just nothing better than listening to another commercial about this drug with 75 side effects. Now listen to me, Coach Finn over here knows a few things about winning. What's up, guys? It's Frankie here. In this video, I want to show you guys how the NFL became the world's greatest marketing machine. And more importantly, especially for those of you guys who have an online business or aspire to have one, I want to show you exactly how they did it, and so that you can actually take valuable ideas that you can go and use to build your own shit and ultimately profit. For those of you guys who don't know me already, by the way, my name's Frankie Finn. I wrote these 2 best-selling books. This baby right here, Passive Automated Recurring Income, you can find a link for exactly below this video, and it'll walk you through how to set up and make money with the old magic internet stuff that is done in a recurring way. Anyways, let's get into the good shit.
Yo, it's Frankie Finn. Beach mode engaged. Looms loaded, AI's humming. Let's go!
All right, so this video is not what do you think about professional football as a whole, but I want to show you guys how they actually became what they became. And if you guys understand the tactics and strategies, you can ultimately use them to monetize and make money for yourself. And I learned this magic phrase from a friend of mine, very successful internet marketer named Dennis Yu. And more than anything else, the NFL is a content factory. So what do I mean by that? So firstly, the NFL, let's call it an average game is like a 3-hour game, right? So that is like their core content, right? So many of you guys, if you're out there, you're selling, you may have trainings, you may have courses, you may have physical products you're trying to sell, you may have services you're trying to sell, web design, all kinds of things like that, right? Well, one of the magic that the NFL has figured out is they how to create spin-off content based on their core content, which means from one little 3-hour recording, they get millions and millions and millions of videos. So the first is what we would call UCG, or let's try that in the right order, UGC, user-generated content. So when you think about it, there's all sorts of fan reactions, right? There's all sorts of discussion forums where people are actively discussing the game. There is groups and communities and things like that where people debate, which coach is better and that one is better. And then they have all sorts of spin-off articles. Also, they create news out of what? Player updates, trades, things like that, right? Every time there's some little thing that happens in the league, they make a big deal out of it. Then there is the fantasy, right? They got the NFL fantasy. You got to check your team. There is the betting, the documentaries, the rivalries, the reaction videos, right? So it's not just about, for you guys listening to this, it's not just about having some core piece of content, but it's creating all sorts of like little spin-offs. So I'll tell you, for us, when we make these videos, I batch record them, and my assistant Mark helps me to create sometimes like 12, 15, 20 different shorts out of this. So even though we do one single recording, I often get like 20, 30 videos out of the thing. So you want to think about whatever product or service or idea you're trying to go sell in the world, you want to shout it almost as loud as this. Woo, 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 woo. So the NFL also has interviews, right? Player interviews, talking heads, right? You see every week, power rankings. We need to debate which team is better, which one's better, who's the top 10 quarterback, that's crazy, he's number 2, that guy's better than this guy, he should be in the Hall of Fame, he should not be in the Hall of Fame. And they create all this talk based on one single 3-hour game per week. Like, I really want you to think about it. And by the way, fun little fact, I'm where I live here in Mexico, to watch it legally, there's a subscription service called DAZN. I watched the game at double speed and fast forward through a commercial. It takes less than 20 minutes to watch a full NFL game when you skip all the commercials and all the talk and actually just watch that. So they really, even though it's a 3-hour game, when you strip it down, it's actually really only about like 20 minutes of actually fucking playing. That's a double speed, so maybe it's like 40 minutes of actual time. Now the second piece of the puzzle is the NFL does better than anyone else is they know how to monetize their shit, right? Okay, cool, they're in the entertainment business, but it's not really enough to be in the entertainment business. You want to be able to create spin-offs, right, where you actually make money. So how does the NFL do this? Well, first of all, merch, jerseys, hats, helmets, signed autographs, things like that. Experiences. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I was watching a video the other day, and these fans came to they were Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans, and they came, and Baker Mayfield, their quarterback, was sort of like undercover, and they had at some point who can throw the ball the furthest. If somebody can throw it 50 yards, you guys will all win a prize. He's all dressed up in makeup. All of a sudden, he can launch it 70, 80 yards, and people are like, no way. And then he takes off the costume. Holy shit, it's Baker Mayfield, right? Well, they charge money for that, just so you guys know. They're not just doing that for free. They got things like box seats, right? More expensive premium sections. So do you have a premium thing that people who would be willing to give you more money can actually experience? So another thing they have going for them is licensing, right? The NFL licenses its products to different TV stations, right? Like there's 47 different ways to monetize their product. And if you really actually think about just those two things alone, if you think about how do I turn my existing product or service into mountains of content. I actually forgot to mention they also have like highlights. I probably am forgetting like 45 different things, but like look how much content they get out of one single piece. And then you figure out how to monetize that 27 different ways. The combination of having a lot of eyeballs and a lot of ways to make money is usually going to be good for whatever it is you're selling. By the way, most people make their shit really boring. So say like you run a little local restaurant, people go, we make sandwiches, instead of going, let me show you the 10-minute video where I'm going to make the best roast beef you ever had, blah, blah, blah. And then they get fan analysis and articles, and they get it published in news, and they get to rate your sandwich and how hot is my sandwich, and taking bets on it, and documentaries and highlights of the sandwich, and spin-off content, and reactions and interviews and talking heads. Obviously, not all of that 100% apples to apples will apply, but a lot of it does. It's a creativity issue, not a can I do this or not. So last piece of the puzzle that they do better than anyone else is the cool factor. And the cool factor is done, by the way, intentionally, is wherever possible, the NFL incorporates celebrities, musicians, full stadiums. So why do you think in the Super Bowl they stop the game for an hour full stadium / crowd? Why do you think they do all of that? Stop the game for an hour so they can have Lady Gaga or whatever perform for an hour. Back in the day, when Shania was smoking fucking hot, why did they have that? Well, it's to create the cool factor, all the cool kids. By the way, when they wanted to blow up smoking, this is how they did it. They got celebrities and musicians. Well, by the way, if you just give away some free shit to influential people, they'll usually do it. Like if you run a local restaurant, like I mentioned, like pretending for a second that's your service, reach out to the mayor and say, Mayor, I want to get you in there for free, and then turn the mayor into mountains of content, and then figure out how to monetize the fact that the mayor was there. You're going to be able to turn your restaurant into the cool place quite literally by just following the same NFL template. And by the way, if you do this right, this is how fucking happy you're going to be.
我有几个球真的打得不错。
这个球飞到的是在左外野方向。This ball is long gone, just like the ex-girlfriend who will never return. Home run!
By the way, one thing that I think is really important to talk about here is I mentioned they have their content factory, so their shit is like omnipresent. You see it everywhere. I mentioned the monetization. Most of the content and monetization operates digitally independent of them. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, like the highlight reel, people can watch the highlights. They don't have to constantly create new stuff. When it comes to like merchandising and things like that, or fan experiences, a lot of those things don't require them to actually like add more deliverables, add more stuff. Licensing especially, right? If they sell the TV rights, right? They just get a bigger deal with the TV station. By the way, if you guys want to know how to put together these deals, again, I got a link for it in my book, which you can find a link for below this video, or you can just go to Digital Dealmakers Hub, hub.com, and check that baby out. So I want you guys to think about when you're putting together stuff for your own stuff is, how can I turn my business into a content factory? Regardless of whether you got a product or a service or a software or whatever, the more you can think about yourself as a media company and not as a product or service, and the more you can engineer hype and content and people talking about your shit, and the more you have ways to monetize that, and the more you up your cool factor, generally speaking, it's gonna happen and mean good shit for you. So if you're not already subscribed, I want you to subscribe because we're gonna do more awesome videos like this. And thank you for watching. I'm Frankie Finn, the man with the golden dad guns, 170 pounds of pure steel and sex appeal, and the greatest of all time, the man they call the man. All right, I watched too much wrestling as a kid in the 90s. Anyways, appreciate you guys all for tuning in. And that's all I got for you guys in this video. May the Triforce be with you.